You want to know what really pisses me off? Apple Incorporated. Apple is one of those companies that needs no introduction. You got an iPhone, then you've got an Apple product. You got a MacBook, you've got an Apple product. Mac Studio, Mac Pro, any of those Macintosh devices, you've got an Apple device. I'm willing to give credit where credit's due. Apple products generally look great, on the outside of course. Not that looks really matter in terms of functionality, but it definitely looks very nice. They also arguably created the very first Ultrabook. I mean, that's gotta count for something. Ultrabooks are pretty nice. Yeah, they're a little sparse on ports, I'll admit, but they're very light and they're very sleek. And most importantly, they're not stupidly heavy. And they also created the iPod, and also revolutionized how people purchase music. And you know what? Apple was okay with letting you use your own MP3s to sync to your own iPod, especially if you were a young kid in like the 2000s, like me. And I'm sure Apple's done a lot more good things, but I'm not here to talk about what Apple did good. I'm here to talk about why Apple pisses me off, because they've done a lot more bad than good. When it comes to repairability, Apple is among the worst in the industry. Apple, over the years, have employed many tactics to make things just simply unrepairable. The most egregious of which is serializing model numbers for their parts. If you don't buy official Apple parts, which by the way, you can't buy official Apple parts, but essentially if you put in an unofficial part, either features will be disabled or the computer won't boot. It's not just their computers too, it's also iPhones as well. Basically, if you opt to buy a screen and try to replace it yourself, and you have the know-how, you're rewarded for your efforts by having your Face ID disabled. It sounds crazy that any company would go through any effort of making things harder to replace, because at the end of the day, it costs them money to implement these things. Apple did eventually remove this feature after about 5 days of it being reported by iFixit. Yeah, sure, Apple did a good thing by disabling it, but you know what? Apple shouldn't have enabled it to begin with. It really shows where Apple's head is really at. I'm sure it costs Apple a pretty penny to make things non-repairable. But I guess they figured out that making this not repairable and then just forcing people to buy new devices makes them a lot more money. I mean, they're a $1 trillion company for a reason, am I right, fellas? There's also the fact that e-waste is a thing. It's one thing if Apple doesn't care about repairability. It's one thing. It's another thing for Apple to turn around, remove the charger that came with phones, and then claim that they're saving the planet by reducing their carbon emissions or whatever. Have you ever heard of the 3 R's in sustainable living? Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Under Apple's new paradigm, we would see the 3 new R's. Rescind, raise, and replace. Now, I'm no tree hugger, but I think Apple should be less, hypocritical